If you are a man over 60, chances are you've heard, directly or indirectly, that your life is incomplete without a woman beside you. Society, media, even well-meaning friends often repeat this message so persistently that it begins to feel like truth. But what if that belief is not only false, but also quietly destructive? What if the constant reminder that you need a partner at this stage of life is actually what's keeping you from living your fullest potential? The reality is, fulfillment, confidence, and vitality do not depend on another person's presence. They are built from within, sustained by independence, and reflected outward in the way you live, love, and carry yourself. By the end of this discussion, it will become clear that you don't need anyone to complete you. You only need to remember how complete you already are. As men age, the narrative around them changes. Youth is celebrated as the time of passion, confidence, and ambition, while the later years are portrayed as decline and limitation. But for men who understand themselves deeply, aging is not a loss of power, is the refinement of it. The misconception that one must rely on companionship to feel relevant or whole is rooted in fear, not truth. That fear is often reinforced by social expectations, family pressure, and the haunting thought of loneliness. Yet the men who truly thrive in their 60s, 70s, and beyond are those who live from a position of choice, not need. They understand that companionship can enrich life, but it is not its foundation. It is essential to examine why the illusion of dependence persists. From early adulthood, many men are taught to equate success with having a partner to measure their worth through relationship status. Cultural messaging suggests that without someone by your side, you're somehow unfinished. This conditioning leads to a subtle, lifelong pressure that can distort self-perception. When that belief carries into older age, it often manifests as insecurity, restlessness, and an unspoken fear of being alone. Yet psychological and biological studies show that a man's mental and physical health thrive most when his sense of identity is self-defined. The moment his confidence comes from his own values, purpose, and growth, he becomes more centered, peaceful, and even more attractive to others. The truth that few people acknowledge is that dependence creates anxiety. When a man believes he must have a woman to be complete, his body responds with subtle stress responses. Elevated cortisol, lower testosterone, and restless thought patterns all emerge from the internal belief of lack. The emotional consequences are equally damaging. Overthinking, overgiving, and overanalyzing become constant habits. This is why many relationships that start from desperation feel unstable. The energy fueling them is rooted in fear of emptiness rather than joy and connection. When a man operates from need, every rejection feels personal, every silence feels threatening, and every conflict feels catastrophic. But when he operates from self-assurance, his inner calm becomes unshakable, and he no longer negotiates his dignity for approval. To move from dependence to independence requires an honest look at how one's mindset shapes daily choices. Many men unconsciously put their lives on hold waiting for companionship. They postpone travel, self-improvement, or exploration until someone else joins them. They define joy as something to be shared rather than something to be lived. But the most magnetic men are those who move forward regardless of who walks beside them. They cultivate hobbies, nurture friendships, pursue growth, and remain curious about life. When they meet potential partners, they are not offering an empty space to be filled. They are extending an invitation to join a life already rich with meaning. That distinction is powerful. It transforms dating from a search for completion into an act of shared abundance. The path toward this strength begins with redefining what success in later life looks like. It's not about how many people you attract, how long your marriage lasted, or whether you have someone to wake up beside. Success at this stage means being at peace with yourself. It means waking up with purpose, even if the day begins in solitude. It means enjoying your own company, nurturing your body, feeding your mind, and strengthening your spirit. This self-sufficiency is not arrogance, it is maturity. The man who has learned to stand tall in his independence does not repel connection, he enhances it. His presence exudes calm confidence rather than desperation. Women and others around him sense stability, not neediness. He becomes a leader, not a follower, in his emotional world. Understanding this principle requires addressing a common misconception. Independence does not mean isolation. Choosing to be self-reliant emotionally is not the same as rejecting companionship. It means recognizing that true love and partnership can only exist between two whole individuals. When one person leans too heavily on the other for identity or happiness, imbalance arises. The healthiest relationships at any age are those built on mutual respect and individual strength. Each partner brings their own passions, interests, and perspectives to the table. The connection then becomes a union of choice, not survival. To develop this independence, one must begin by reclaiming self-respect. This starts with daily actions, taking care of health, maintaining routines, setting boundaries, and nurturing passions, all reinforce a man's sense of control and stability. The brain thrives on progress. Even small achievements, learning a new skill, improving diet, or staying consistent with exercise release dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with motivation and satisfaction. This neurochemical shift gradually replaces anxiety with confidence. It's not just about external results, it's about the inner message you send yourself. I am capable, I am growing, and I am whole. Beyond the physiological benefits, there is a psychological evolution that occurs when men stop defining themselves by external validation. They begin to rediscover purpose beyond roles like husband, partner, or provider. This stage of life offers a unique opportunity to explore identity in ways that may have been overshadowed by earlier responsibilities. The freedom to pursue creativity, mentorship, travel, or spirituality can reignite a powerful sense of meaning. Men who invest in their own development rather than chasing approval often report feeling younger, stronger, and more emotionally alive than they have in decades. It is equally important to understand how emotional independence transforms relationships themselves. When a man no longer approaches dating or companionship from a place of lack, interactions shift dramatically. Conversations become more authentic, boundaries become clearer, and attraction becomes natural rather than forced. The dynamic of pursuit changes from proving worth to sharing value. The man who knows who he is does not beg for attention, he earns respect through presence. This energy difference is subtle but unmistakable. It is what makes certain men effortlessly magnetic. They do not need to impress because their self-assurance already speaks for them. A key part of sustaining this mindset is detaching from outcomes. Many men feel deflated when relationships fail or when their interest is not reciprocated. This reaction often comes from associating external results with internal worth. Detachment does not mean indifference. It means understanding that another person's choice does not diminish your value. Every interaction is simply information, not a judgment of character. When a man internalizes this truth, rejection loses its sting. He begins to approach life with curiosity instead of fear, courage instead of hesitation. Ironically, that very confidence makes him far more appealing than any rehearsed charm ever could. For those rebuilding after loss or divorce, this concept becomes even more vital. The pain of losing a partner through separation or death can make solitude feel unbearable. Yet it's in those moments that the opportunity for reinvention is greatest. Grief, while heavy, often clears the ground for growth. Many men discover that the life they build after loss can be deeper and more authentic because it is no longer driven by conformity but by clarity. They stop asking, "Who will love me next?" and start asking, "Who am I becoming now?" That question holds the key to emotional transformation. The process of rebuilding confidence is gradual, not sudden. It involves making peace with imperfection, forgiving oneself for past mistakes, and recognizing that life does not lose meaning after 60, it gains depth. Maturity brings with it a kind of wisdom that youth cannot replicate. Experience sharpens discernment. Emotional intelligence deepens. When a man integrates these qualities into his identity, he becomes not only more grounded but also more generous in love. He gives without expectation and receives without fear because his sense of abundance comes from within. This mindset also protects men from one of the most common traps of aging, settling. Many men, out of fear of loneliness, rush into relationships that do not align with their values. They ignore red flags or compromise personal standards simply to avoid being alone. But settling for companionship at the cost of peace is far lonelier than solitude. The man who embraces his independence knows that being single is not a punishment. It's a position of power. It gives him time, freedom, and perspective to choose wisely. When he eventually commits, it is not from desperation but from discernment. That distinction makes the difference between a relationship that drains and one that elevates. In practical terms, independence can be strengthened through deliberate practice. Start by engaging in activities that nurture personal growth: reading, fitness, meditation, travel, or volunteering. Reconnect with male friendships that inspire you rather than drain you. Surround yourself with people who respect your journey and mirror the confidence you aspire to maintain. When you fill your environment with positive influences, dependency loses its grip. Emotional strength grows through repetition, just like muscle. The more consistently you choose self-sufficiency over validation, the more natural it becomes. Equally essential is cultivating gratitude. Many men focus so intensely on what's missing that they overlook what's already abundant. Gratitude is a quiet but powerful teacher. It shifts perspective from lack to sufficiency. When you appreciate your health, your freedom, your experiences, and even your resilience, you remind yourself that life still offers limitless possibilities. A grateful mind is naturally more peaceful and magnetic because it operates from presence, not pressure. At this stage of life, the question is not whether you need someone else to be happy, but whether you are living fully, regardless of who stands beside you. Emotional independence is not about rejecting love, it is about elevating it. It ensures that if love enters your life, it enhances your world rather than defines it. You become the author of your story, not a character waiting to be written by another's affection. The men who embody this truth often find that opportunities, romantic, social, and professional, begin to appear naturally. Their self-assured energy draws respect, admiration, and genuine connection. Ultimately, the idea that you need a woman to be complete is not only outdated, that's disempowering. What you truly need is purpose, discipline, and authenticity. You need to wake each day knowing you are enough, and any relationship you form is a choice, not a lifeline. Confidence born from independence is magnetic because it cannot be faked. It is visible in posture, in tone, and in the quiet certainty that no rejection or validation can shake your foundation. That is what makes a man truly irresistible: his peace, not his pursuit. So, if you have spent years believing that happiness depends on someone else's presence, consider the possibility that your best years begin when you stop waiting. Take the trip you postponed, start the hobby you once dismissed, reach out to old friends, or learn something new. Reclaim your life not as a waiting room for love, but as a celebration of freedom. When you live this way, relationships become bonuses, not necessities. Companionship becomes a mutual journey, not a rescue mission. Age does not limit possibility, it clarifies it. You have lived enough to know what matters and what doesn't. You have the wisdom to choose peace over pretense, self-respect over dependency, and purpose over approval. The world does not need you to shrink into loneliness. It needs you to expand into leadership, first of yourself, then of others who look to you as proof that strength has no expiration date. You are not missing anything. You are not broken, incomplete, or behind. You are whole, capable, and worthy exactly as you are. Love, if it comes, will recognize that wholeness, not fix it. The myth that a man over 60 must have a woman to be fulfilled is not only false, it robs men of their freedom. The truth is simple and liberating. You can choose companionship when you desire it, but you do not need it to thrive. Your completeness is not a gift to be earned. It's a truth to be remembered. And the moment you fully embrace that truth, you become the kind of man who no longer chases connection. He attracts it naturally, effortlessly, and powerfully, because his strength begins where dependency ends.